Today, while I was on vacation, I witnessed an incident that really points out how fire codes in the United States are at a pretty high standard and what we've gotten used to, but they can be much lower standards outside the U.S. Even when you are at a resort that is designed for American tourists.
Let me set the scene for you. This is a satellite view of the resort complex. You can see the residential buildings. This satellite picture was taken about a year ago, so you can see the structural steel of the registration center and restaurant complex. Unfortunately, this is very much what the center looks like once again. This building contains the Internet Center and some restaurants, and I would also like to point out the building in which we were actually staying. On Monday, January 28th, the rest of my family was moving rather slowly. At 9:30, I said I was going to go over to the Internet Cafe, have a cappuccino, and read my email. There was a strong wind blowing that morning. As I arrived, a welder was working on the tubular steel frame of the back side of the new complex. He didn't notice it, but he started a small fire on the thatched roof. He was alone, there was no fire spotter, and no extinguisher. By the time he realized the issue, it was more than he could control. Within a minute, I was on my way out of the computer center because of the fire, but had realized that I had a small camera with me. Here are the first flames dropping down at about 2 minutes into the fire. Here is another picture taken 65 seconds later. Note the professional response of the emergency response team, and please note the adequacy of the fire hose brought to bear on the fire. I wanted to make sure that my family was aware of the fire, so I headed back to the room. This is another shot taken from a vantage about 5.5 minutes later after the first shot. I then traced the direction of the plume and realized that my family was probably taking some smoke. With a few more seconds, I realized that burning embers were making their way across the quarter-mile lake, and I saw the first smoke starting to rise from our building. Luckily, my son had been taking pictures from the room and realized that embers were making it all the way from the initial fire. He got my daughter-in-law out of the shower and packed all of their stuff. My wife emptied the safe, grabbed our passports and medication, and a few clothes and shoes before leaving the room. She also grabbed the movie camera. By this point, the staff was running up and down the hallway, knocking on doors and yelling instructions in Spanish, which didn't do us a whole lot of good. We had the luxury of 3 exits, but I want to show you the problems that others had. Our building was actually 3 residential buildings connected by 2 elevator and stairway units. The arrows indicate how one would normally leave the building. There were no stairways at the ends of either of the outer buildings. In this case, the issue was that the 3rd floor stairwell looked up into this beautiful thatched roof, but this was the roof that was now on fire. The 3rd floor protected the 2nd and 1st floors, but people on the 3rd floor left wing had only one exit. They had to run through the flaming lobby. None of us could exit the building at the left stairway because the flaming roof was dropping to the ground outside the building. This is a picture of our building before the fire and after the fire. The moral of the story is that you may well be on your own in an emergency outside the U.S., so you should think through and discuss your plan of action. As soon as you get to your room, take a look around and think through the potential emergencies. If you are not comfortable with your conclusions, request another room and explain to the management why. On the positive side, registration was back up and running within hours in a new location. The bars and the pools never missed a beat. Debris was removed from our building within 12 hours and repainting was finished within about 24 hours. We will certainly go back again, but we will think harder about our location within the building. Thank you.